Ciao, amici. Thanks so much for tuning into the new podcast, Sprezzatura Jenner Travels the World. I am no longer coming to you live from my walk-in closet, but from the guest room of my two-bedroom apartment. I have the most amazing view, and thankfully I have double glazed windows. Otherwise, I honestly would have had to set up shop in the bathroom. I am looking down on the city here, and it's not that the traffic is super heavy. It's just that the drivers in Tirana, Albania, honk relentlessly. They honk at each other to go. They honk at each other to stop. I honestly think they're just having conversations by honking the horns in their car. And otherwise I would have had to set up shop if I didn't have these wonderful double glazed windows. But I have a lot to talk about in this pilot episode, so let's get right into it. So usually when someone makes a huge life-altering decision, there's a straw that broke the camel's back. You know, whether you're ending a relationship, quitting your job, or in my case, leaving the country. So when I woke up and saw Kinkle's McTaco Tits, as Jennifer Welch calls him, and I will never mention his real name on this podcast because it would ruin the whole podcast. But when I saw Kinkles as a projected winner, I knew it was time to go, and that's when my decision was made. Now, I want to make this disclaimer right off the bat. This will not be a politically based podcast. Unfortunately, in this current administration, it seems like everything has become political. I truly believe that we need an escape from that, especially if you're American. But back to the decision. You know, recently I've become very in tune to manifestation. I have come to the realization, in my opinion, that there are no coincidences and everything happens for a reason. So one day I was on YouTube for something, and I don't know what it was because I'm on YouTube a lot. I think YouTube is an invaluable tool to life, and I love it dearly. But I don't even know what I was looking for that day. And I saw this Black woman whose page focuses on solo travel, and she came across my feed. She posted a video of herself sitting in the airport with her suitcases, talking about how she'd packed up her life and moved to Tirana, Albania. And I instantly thought, what the fuck? You know, what the hell is in Tirana, Albania that you would just want to pack up your life and move there? And also, I'm an avid Rick Steves watcher, and I know he has never done an episode about Tirana, Albania, or Albania to that fact. And honestly, I hope he never does, because whatever Rick Steves touch becomes immensely popular right off the bat. You know, it happened to Iceland. Iceland was a nice, quiet country minding their business until Rick Steves got a hold of it, and now they've got a tourism problem. So honestly, I hope that he never comes here to Tirana, because I never knew about it. I couldn't even point it out on a map. So I went to her channel and started watching a few of her videos. And when she posted how she found an African braiding salon, because let's face it, my fellow Black women that might be listening to this, one of the most important factors in us going anywhere is how are we going to get our hair done, right? But when she posted that video, I was sold. And that's when I knew that I wanted to go. Now, if you're on TikTok and you've landed in the leaving the United States algorithm, you've seen dozens of people waxing prophetic on the best places to go. I am not going to do that. I believe, like, if you have made up your mind to leave the United States, that's up to you. You decide where you want to go, okay? This episode is simply outlining the things that I feel like you should consider when you are thinking about making that move. The first thing that you should ask yourself is, do you have the intestinal fortitude to make this move? Okay. About a week ago, I was on TikTok, and this girl posted a video whining about how lonely she was, how homesick it was, how hard it was since she left the United States. I mean, just completely whining. And this is something that she should have considered before she left. Packing up your life and moving to another country is not for the weak at heart. Your life will change. Now, if you're an American moving to Canada, then no, it won't change that much because Canada's right next door. But if you're thinking about moving to another country that actually has a different language as their primary language, a different lifestyle altogether, your life will change completely. Okay. So if you're moving to another country and you think that your life is just going to be 100% the same, you are completely delusional. Now, thankfully, social media has made it easier to meet friends along the way, but you can't always depend on that. For example, the people that I met in this area on social media before I moved here haven't been very responsive, and I chase no one, so I've been going it on my own. Now, luckily, my landlord and her English speaking daughter have made it their responsibility to make sure I'm okay. They've basically like adopted me as extended family. So I feel very lucky in that aspect. But just know, that those first few weeks or first few months might be a little bit difficult. Think back to like if you went to college and when you moved away from home for those first few weeks, think about that when you make this decision, okay? Now, the next thing I think is very important to consider is the cost of living, job opportunities, and visa requirements. Now, this may seem obvious, but moving is an emotional decision, and sometimes emotions cloud logic. I chose Albania because I can live here for an entire year as an American just on my passport. Also, the cost of living is very low when compared to the cost of living in the United States. So my money is going further than it would have in another country. And 1 year gives me plenty of time to work on my social media content, hone my voiceover skills, and create other income generating opportunities. It also gives me time to apply for a visa, which I've heard here is very easy to do with a lawyer. And from what I understand, the cost of the lawyer is very low, but the lawyer helps you get things done expeditiously. So let's say if this 1 year ends and I don't have things set up completely, I can leave for 3 months and come back and start another year. But be realistic about this step. While I would prefer, to be a digital nomad, I know there's also tons of call centers here that need English speaking reps. Now, I've worked in call centers before in my life, and let's say I don't want to go by that step. So I'm going to work my hardest to get this digital nomad thing going, But I also know that I have a whole year to get myself set up so I can get a residency permit. And that's one thing that you need to consider. Now, the other thing, or the last thing that I'm going to say is, what's your end game plan? Like, are you planning to stay in that new country and live happily ever after? Are you trying to do the Schengen shuffle, as they call it? In the Schengen countries, you can only stay 90 days before you have to leave or get a visa of some sort. And some people just move around the Schengen area. I have no desire to do that. Moving this once was quite enough for me. Keep in mind also that immigration laws are changing more now that so many Americans are leaving the United States. Countries are going to be tightening up their borders in an attempt to protect the way of life for the locals, to prevent those living costs from going up because we're moving there. For me personally, I feel like I've gotten in on the ground floor here in Albania. They are trying to gain entrance into the European Union in the next decade, and Tirana is growing rapidly. I feel like this may be a good place to consider purchasing real estate. Even if I don't plan to stay here forever, I think the purchase of real estate will benefit me in the long run. So that's also something that I'm considering. So now you've made the decision. What's next? Again, a move like this is an emotional move, and emotion can cloud logic. But somehow you're going to need to stay focused because you have a lot ahead of you. And you will feel every emotion under the rainbow. Trust me, like 2 weeks before this move, I was an emotional wreck. But somehow I managed to keep my head about me, and here I am. And these two factors, in my opinion, are the most important factors. The first one, I wish I could have had the luxury to do, but I didn't. If you can, move in silence. There have been a couple of times in my life where I just got sick of being where I was, packed up everything and left. And when this happened, I told no one what my plans were. I just did it. The reason being is because I didn't want to hear other people's mouths. Why do you want to go here? Blah, 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 trying to talk you out of your decision. And honestly, I wish I could have had the luxury to do that this time. But, I had a brick and mortar business to close. I share an inheritance with my siblings, and I was living with my brother in our family house at the time. So I had no choice but to disclose my plans to others. But why am I suggesting this to you? Again, in my experience, whenever you share your goals and your dreams with someone, there's always someone who's going to do their best to discourage you, to try to punch a hole in your balloon, to plant seeds of doubt in your garden, to make you have second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth thoughts about something you've already put so much thought into. So I suggest this just for the sake of guarding your own mentality and, to preserve the confidence in you. You've already put a lot of thought in this decision. Go ahead with it once you've made up your mind. And if you can move in silence, I strongly suggest you do so. The second thing I suggest to you, and this is a very strong recommendation, is to do your research. Unless you have the luxury of hiring a consultant, no one is going to hold your hand during this process. Do as much research as you can. If you are in a financial position to make a reconnaissance trip, do so. Use the internet, to look up stats like, what's the crime rate? Like, what's the top crime rate? Are there purse snatchers or pickpocketers or, a lot of home break-ins, et cetera, et cetera? What are the gun laws there? Look all of that stuff up. And remember that YouTube is your friend. There is always somebody posting a video on YouTube on what you're interested in. It doesn't matter what it is. You can find it on YouTube, good and bad, unfortunately. Now, as of lately, and I think it really started during COVID, city walk videos have become really popular worldwide. I have watched hours and hours and hours of videos of walking tours of Tirana, and I have paid attention closely to things like how dirty was the city when they were walking through. Are there women walking alone? And I watched videos that were done in day and night to see what was going on. How's the traffic, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing that I researched is the availability of medical services. That's important to me. I have a genetic disorder, blood clotting order, which I have to take blood thinners for the rest of my life, and that has to be monitored every month. So I needed to know if that was a possibility in the city. Think of any factors that affect you. This is the most important part of your decision. So it will benefit you to basically have a one-track mind about this. I walked around every day, all day. I wonder if they do this. And I would have a journal and write things down and look it up later. So definitely buy a journal when you're making this move. It will help you immensely. So that's it for this episode. I truly hope that you found this helpful. Again, these are factors that I took to heart, but everyone is different. So if you feel like there's more to think about for you, keep a journal. The journal definitely helped me along the way. And I just want to mention again that this podcast will not be about whether you should or should not leave the United States, but I wanted to dedicate this one episode to what I did once my decision was made. Going forward, I will delve into more interesting things like the things that I've discovered along the way in this fascinating city of Tirana, my travels around the country of Albania and beyond. For example, next week I'm going to Florence, Italy for a few days for the Jazz Festival. I've never been here during this time of the year, so I'm really excited to go to the Jazz Festival. So please follow my links for my YouTube channel, Instagram, and TikTok for the video content that I will post along that trip. And I will put those links both in the description for this episode and in the bio for the podcast. And as always, if you enjoy this podcast, please like, follow, and share with your friends. And as always, your financial support is welcomed. As you may remember on my other podcast, I always used to sign off with an Italian phrase. Albania was ruled by Italy in the years leading up to World War II, and they still have a super heavy Italian influence here. A lot of Italian restaurants. When you listen to the Albanian language, you can hear the Italian influence, and many Albanians still speak Italian. So technically, I can still sign off with my Italian phrase, which is ci vediamo dopo, and that means to see you later. So, ciao from Tirana.